This is why narcissism always leads to abuse. Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to address a difficult but important topic: the abusive nature of narcissism. One of the most painful realizations you may come to when dealing with a narcissist is understanding that they gain their sense of importance at your expense. In their mind, they become stronger by tearing you down. Think about that. I become a better person by making you feel like less. That kind of thinking is deeply distorted. In the narcissist world, there's no space for anyone who doesn't conform to their self-serving narrative. And as soon as you enter their life, you're written into that script, assigned a role that exists solely to support their ego. As time goes on, they show they are fully willing to degrade and demean you repeatedly. They believe that their success is directly tied to how much control and dominance they can exert over others. And it's fair to ask, where does this mindset come from? Before diving into their abusive actions, it's important to first understand what's going on inside of them. What emotional baggage or inner struggles are they carrying that lead them to develop such destructive behavior? This is important because narcissists are skilled at convincing you that you are the problem. But the truth is, you're not. If it weren't you, it would be someone else. Their abusive tendencies are not about who's standing in front of them. They carry this dysfunction wherever they go. That's a crucial truth to remember and hold on to. As we begin to explore what narcissists carry on the inside, one of the first things to understand is that many of them have spent years, often decades, building up a deep sense of pessimism around the idea of being affirmed or validated. They want to be seen as good and worthy, but past experiences have left them questioning whether others truly see them that way. To cope with this lingering fear of rejection, many narcissists, often subconsciously, develop an attitude of entitlement. Their thinking becomes, "I deserve recognition, and I'll get it one way or another. If you won't give it to me, I'll find someone who will. Either way, I'm going to make sure my needs are met." From this mindset, they begin forming rigid, self-serving beliefs about how they should be treated. They operate with what can be called imperative thinking. They cling to countless musts, shoulds, have-tos, and supposed-tos, particularly regarding how others are expected to interact with them. And they're not shy about demanding that you fulfill those expectations. But when you don't go along with their agenda, when you don't feed their sense of entitlement, they quickly become disillusioned. Their anger is always simmering just beneath the surface, and when it erupts, it does so in ways that are not only ugly, but deeply demeaning. Narcissists often demand unwavering loyalty and obedience, and when they don't get it, they lash out in anger. Their attitude is, "You are here to support me, and you're failing at it." It's like they live by the motto, "Punishment will continue until you fall in line." They keep pushing and pressuring until you finally surrender to their will. This approach reveals a glaring lack of empathy. Narcissists are so consumed by their own pain, desires, and insecurities that it never even occurs to them to consider your perspective. They desperately crave affection, but their version of it is hollow. It bears no resemblance to genuine love. In fact, they have little to no understanding of what real love even is. Because of this emotional emptiness, they equate their worth with power. To feel like they matter, they pursue control and dominance that becomes their emotional currency. As a result, they are drawn to belief systems, entertainment, and ideologies that glorify authority, strength, and conquest. You'll see this pattern in their religious leanings, political stances, professional attitudes, and personal relationships. It's all driven by desire to dominate. Knowing what's going on beneath the surface, we can predict what their outward behavior will look like: controlling, demeaning, and abusive. People sometimes wonder, if they haven't hit me, is it still abuse? And the answer is a definite yes. Abuse isn't always physical. Narcissists can break your spirit with words, manipulation, intimidation, and emotional cruelty. Whether or not there are bruises, the damage is very real. Let me give you a simple checklist to consider. As I go through each point, ask yourself if any of these apply to your experience. Narcissists, in their abusive patterns, often send you a steady stream of messages intended to tear you down. They insult you frequently, questioning your value and goodness. You may hear intimidating language, face threats, and experience constant negative reinforcement. And when I say constant, I mean relentless criticism. They also work to isolate you from the people who support you. They want you cut off and vulnerable. They might mock you with statements like, "Oh, you think you're so great," dismissing your strengths and ridiculing your confidence. Their anger can be explosive and overpowering. There's no space for differing opinions, personal priorities, or unique preferences. It's their way or nothing. If you don't comply, they respond with rage. They also refuse to cooperate or compromise. It's always a one-way street. You must adapt to them. There's no mutual give and take. They constantly assert how right they are, implying they are better than you, and expect you to accept that as truth. And if you dare to disagree or stand your ground, they have no problem humiliating or demeaning you in return. If they decide others need to know how awful you are, they won't hesitate to launch a smear campaign. They'll spread misinformation without a second thought, completely disregarding the emotional damage it causes. In their mind, it's your fault anyway. You're the one who created all the tension in the relationship. That's how they justify their behavior. Over time, being on the receiving end of this kind of treatment wears you down. There are clear warning signs within yourself that suggest you've experienced emotional abuse. What are some of those signs? To start, you may reach the painful realization that being open with this person is simply too risky. So, you begin shutting down emotionally. You hide your true thoughts and feelings, become secretive or intentionally vague, believing that the less they know about you, the safer you are. That's a major red flag. Another pattern is social isolation. Narcissists often try to distance you from your support system, and eventually, you start withdrawing on your own. You begin to feel drained, defeated, and emotionally flat. You may find yourself thinking, "I'm so tired of faking that I'm okay," when inside, "I'm completely falling apart." And as the abuse continues, it starts to erode your confidence in your own judgment. You begin to question yourself constantly, second-guessing even your most reasonable instincts. You might think, "I want to do this, but maybe I'm wrong." That kind of self-doubt is a direct result of ongoing psychological manipulation. When you've been told over and over that you're wrong, it starts to sink in. You begin to anticipate being dismissed or invalidated anytime you try to speak up. So eventually, you start thinking, "Maybe I really am the problem." What makes it even harder is looking back at your time with a narcissist and realizing that your anger got triggered. You may have reacted or spoken in ways that you're not proud of. You might think, "I don't like the person I became around them." Deep down, you know there's a good and kind person within you. But when you're exposed to narcissistic abuse, things can get messy. I often remind people, no one is naturally equipped to handle narcissistic abuse well. So if you didn't always respond perfectly, that's okay. You were set up to fail in that environment. Be gentle with yourself. Don't beat yourself up for how you coped. Abuse also takes a toll on your physical and emotional health. You might experience sleep problems, headaches, appetite changes, substance abuse, or stomach issues. Some people become rebellious or start acting out in secret, feeling like, "I'm going to do whatever I want, and I don't care anymore." That kind of response is not uncommon. Over time, you may even find yourself feeling stuck in a cycle of futility or hopelessness. These are all signs of the emotional toll narcissistic abuse can take, but they are not signs of weakness. They are signs that you've been hurt deeply. Abuse isn't a term we should throw around casually. While some people might use it loosely, saying that was abusive in situations that don't truly warrant it, those who have experienced genuine abuse, especially at the hands of a narcissist, know what it really looks like. If you've been on the receiving end of ongoing emotional harm from someone like this, you begin to understand the depth of what abuse truly means. Eventually, I hope you reach a turning point, a moment of clarity, one where you realize, "I can't change the narcissist, but I can change me." And when that moment comes, I want you to hear this loud and clear, from my heart to yours. You are absolutely right to want more. You're allowed to want to be treated with worth, with dignity, and with respect. You have every right to expect civility, to be honored, to be treated fairly, to receive kindness, and to be part of a relationship where mutual care exists. Wanting peace, understanding, and personal freedom isn't selfish, it's healthy. In fact, those desires are the very foundation of a safe, balanced, and respectful relationship. So if the narcissist in your life refuses to meet you there, if they have no interest in change, growth, or mutual respect, then the reality becomes clear. It's time to make important decisions about who you allow into your life and who you align yourself with. And from that point forward, your top priority becomes this: self-care. Not just survival, but healing, boundaries, and choosing relationships where your value is recognized and honored. I hope videos like this help you gain a clearer understanding of what you might be facing. As I've said before, abuse is a complex issue, and it's not a word we should use casually. But if you've experienced it firsthand, I want to emphasize this: you must prioritize your well-being. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I encourage you to do so. We'll continue sharing more content to support you on your journey. Now, as always, I want to mention the importance of seeking counseling. That's what I do, and I recommend it because I truly believe in its value. If you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure about how to navigate your situation, please don't hesitate to reach out for help. Sometimes we all need someone to help us sort through the chaos. If the narcissist in your life insists on staying trapped in their destructive behavior, then your best move may be to create distance. Because your goal is to become someone grounded, kind, and strong. A person who lives with integrity and peace. And really, isn't that a goal worth striving for?